Okay, so I've kind of gone over in the previous installments, I talked about manipulating space and things you can do. So rather than get too much into the weeds, I'm just going to show some other things that you can do to practice this skill. Because I realize, again, what's intuitive to me is not intuitive to other people, and I get that. So one of the things, too, when I'm manipulating space, that I also do is I practice shifting my body back and forth. I show this in another video where I show how you can move from one position to the next. So as I'm shifting from one position to the next, I'm also tracking motion. And again, this is all demonstration. I'm also tracking movement, tracking motion, so that as they change with my change, I can then alter my movement. To me, it's not realistic to think, number one, you're never going to get hit in a fight. I don't know where that comes from, but that mentality is out there. It's not realistic to think that they're not going to move, or that you're always going to be able to get the shot in you want. You know, remember something, the enemy gets a vote. Bottom line. It's like we say in the Marine Corps, what you don't know will get you killed. So, and there's somebody out there who wants to kill you. The question is, are you going to give them a chance? So when I'm doing this stuff, there's also a level of anticipation. I assume every human being knows what I know and can do what I do. Now, in the middle of battle, if I realize you don't know what I know, as far as I'm concerned, hey, you know what, that's not my problem. Maybe you should train at my school, I don't know. But my point is, it's not my problem. So as I'm moving with Jack, and we're just kind of pounding each other, like, take it easy on the liver, because the last time you hit me, my liver enzymes got all out of whack, according to the VA, you know what I'm saying, this guy. So anyway, as I'm moving, and Jack is hitting me, please don't hit me in the mouth while I'm talking.
Sure.
So as I'm doing this stuff, what's happening is, he's also playing off of my movement. As I get close to him, stop, don't move. Why is his hand there? And by the way, for those of you watching this video, this is going to be on the test later on, and there is math, right? So what it is he can actually feel, even on the most visceral level, where my hand is relative to his hand. That's why he places his hand at a point in the future ahead of my hand, right? So as he's doing that, if he starts adjusting his body based on that feel, he's basically taking away time for me to be able to make the adjustment I need to get out of the way. And he's also tracking me as he's doing this, because again, he's habituated this ability to manipulate space within his own body, but also the space between us, whereas I go to hit him, I go to push, and I ended up walking into that. And basically what he did was, that was an ambush, so he set me up. So if you remember some of the episodes, hopefully I covered it adequately in Lessons for My Masters. One of the things that Grandmaster Karen and Grandmaster Perkins would do, while they both had almost seemingly, dichotomous ways in which they approach things, in actuality, they were actually working off of different ends of the same spectrum. In other words, Grandmaster Karen often liked to have a lot more physical contact, because that was just his thing. But he also had long arms, and he was strong as an ox. So he could kind of play out here and just like be, punching holes in people and stuff like that. Grandmaster Perkins, because he didn't have the reach, he had to get a little closer to make stuff work. He wasn't going to be playing out here with somebody, my height. But the other thing was, Grandmaster Perkins also understood that on a very visceral level, we as humans can feel the presence of another person within, proximity of our bodies. The skill's called proximity. In the book Attack Proof, we call it spatial awareness, but it's basically proximity. It's the same thing. And by the way, scientifically, we really don't know how proximity works, just like, what is the word I'm looking for? Scopesia, where it's the perception or feel as if somebody's looking at you or staring at you. We've all had that experience. You know what I'm talking about. We don't know how it works, but we know there's been enough people in the human experience, tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people who've had the experience, and we've all had it, where you're like, it feels like somebody's staring, and you look around and it's like somebody, staring at you, looking at you, kind of like, Gollum from the Lord of the Rings, my precious or something, right? So my point is, we have these abilities. It's not magic, it's not hooky-roo, stuff. but it is real. So we're both playing off of that, feeling things within proximity. So Grandmaster Perkins would feel things within proximity, but also he would shadow your movement. He wouldn't create so much space that no matter what his arm looked like it was doing, so watch as I bring my arm around, and I'm doing this on purpose on this side so you can see, my arm is not coming way out here and then hitting. That's how it looks to your eye, to your perception. What I'm doing is, we'll go slow so people can see this. I'm actually mirroring and kind of getting this shadow impression, and I'm following up, because whether I have this much space or this much space, as long as he's not in the way of my arm or impeding my arm in some kind of way, you know, he's going to end up getting this nice ridge hand to the base of the skull, you know, and nighty-night. So as I'm doing this, and Grandmaster Perkins would do this all the time, where he would actually step to position himself in the future. His arm, while people think he's doing this, you know, this kind of arcing, wide motion, actually his arm is slightly arcing and it's following the contour of your body. So he would be here like this, and boom, or he would step and they would hit you here, and he would hit you from here so you couldn't get out of the way. Because why? Because if you went like this with him, he would bring his shoulder up to cut you off. He'll bring his shoulder up to cut you off. So what does he do? So he hits you so you can't do that, and he hits you in the other direction. Sometimes he would do this and then do this and then hit you anyway as an extra disc, because that's just the way he was. My point is, as I'm doing this is exactly how he did stuff. He would get that shadow impression, and he had habituated this ability to manipulate space between himself and the other person, but also manipulate this kind of internal environment he had. You know, for those who had a chance to work with him, even at speed, you know, you'd go to punch him in his chest, and his chest would disappear, and he would just hit you out of the ether, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Because he could do these things. I'm not saying everybody can do it. I'm not even saying I can do it. What I'm saying is it is possible. And if you got that ability as a person, you know, God bless you, more power to you. But you want to learn how to use it to your advantage. So as I'm working here with Jack, say I want to get my hand out like I showed in another video and hit here. The first thing that's going to happen is my body's going to start moving. I'm exaggerating so you can see. Once my body starts moving, I'm just going to go and hit. The reason though I got to do that is if I just take my arm out, I'm still staying in the same spot, he's gonna hit me. If I start moving my body, he also feels that, and I know on a kind of, how do I want to say, a micro movement level, we'll say, he's kind of aware that it'll cause his body to either start moving to adjust to it, or it'll cause him to freeze as he kind of like is contemplating whether or not I started to move or not. His brain goes, did he just move? And it's too late. So as I go to push Jack's arm right there, you can already see how he's already making this adjustment as I'm trying to control and dominate, and then he just slaps the hell out of me because of the fact that what? He could feel everything I'm doing, so rather than guessing and using various, you know, preordained techniques, he's actually creating what he needs, where he needs it as he goes along. This is the reason why when I do stuff, my striking, my movements in terms of clearing things, very basic stuff. I don't do anything fancy. You know, cool will get you killed, right? And so as I'm here, if I want to hit in the throat, well, this is a little hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step over here, and, well, actually I'm going to cheat. I'm going to act like and then I'm going to come back. Because why? I know he feels my body do that. The same way in basketball where a guy fakes a guy out, he goes one way and then he changes it at the right moment once he feels the person bite on the face. It's the same thing. And as you get better at it and you get more fluid and smoother at these kind of movements, once you add the speed to it, because the speed changes the movement, the hard part is then just controlling the overcommitment in your own movement, because you're going to get there sooner. So if I'm here, what I'm doing is obviously I'm pulling stuff, I'm hitting, and then I'm not pulling back to Mississippi, you know, or Alabama, right? I'm not doing that. I'm hitting, and as I'm hitting, see what my body's doing? And I'm exaggerating it. And see where my hand is here? I know this looks like, you know, reverse punching in karate, but I'm not going to do this. I'm going to bring the body just like a boxer would, and I'm going to punch a hole in him. What that also does is it ensures, should he try to get out of the way, I have enough range of motion in my arm to be able to compensate, and then I'm just going to punch a hole in the spine, you know, be like Mortal Kombat, you know, like when I used to play with my son, you know, you pull the spine out and like shake it around and all that good stuff. So hopefully, you know, we're just kind of having fun here, but I wanted to put this in here, you know, throw it in there somewhere, maybe as an adjunct to one of the other lessons, just so you can see. You want to play around with this stuff and have fun. and explore what the art of the possibles in your body, so that you habituate that and also develop, kind of the neural pathways in your brain and the neurology to be able to change whenever you feel you need to change, where your mind doesn't get caught up into thinking, I got to stand there like rollerball or something, and throw strikes.